internet of value at Ripple, we're thinking much bigger than just cross-border payments. It's kind of like Amazon with rare books in the early days, just this market happens to be a $10 trillion market.
We are at a historic turning point.
Said in the past that you are doing for money what email did for communication.
Moving the whole revolution forward.
Take on it.
There's trillions of dollars parked around the world. XRP.
Is there a possibility that Ripple could take over Swift one day?
Well,
welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of 24 Hours of Crypto. Let's get right into today's video. Everybody has an opinion on XRP's price, but the truth is opinions don't matter. What matters is liquidity math. And that math proves XRP cannot stay at $3 once real settlement begins. If you guys watched my previous video, the titled, They Halted the Usage of XRP, if you haven't, I recommend you go watch that because this episode is going to piggyback off of that one. From the very early days, okay, and in 2017, they made it very clear on the valuation framework that was put together by Ripple, which is absolutely insane because every day that goes by, this valuation framework for XRP gets even more bullish, and you're going to see that in today's episode. Ripple made it very clear that XRP wasn't created for retail hype. It was engineered as a liquidity engine for high-value cross-border payments. And when you scale it up to the markets it was designed for, the numbers explode. And I'm going to explain everything in detail, and I'm telling you, you're going to have a light bulb moment in your head. You're going to see the bigger picture and you're going to want to go all in, but do your due diligence, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, but keep in mind, this is a once in a lifetime opportunity. I'm going to go over my trades on Bitunix and also on 2bit in a moment. I'm going to update you guys on the $10,000 upfront by 2bit event that is starting on September 24th. Okay, I will get into the details in a moment, but the important part we have to talk about is today's price. Okay, $3.04. The market capitalizations are approximately $180 billion. And look, it has $5 billion almost in daily trading volume. And that's all speculation. But the foreign exchange market, that's quadrillions annually and $10 trillion per day. So I'm going to model today's episode of $4 trillion in daily settlements, a fraction of the real thing just for the FX markets. And when I say just for the FX market, I'm talking about what they referred and the calculations they had for XRP back in 2017. When they set the 556 daily volume, XRP would reach $32. But this math was based off of foreign exchange trading, corporate payments, and retail remittances. And the adoption rate for FX trading would be 3%. Okay, we all know where we are today in 2025 and what is going on behind the scenes. Wait until you hear what I have to say because this is absolutely insane. And they told you that these are going to be locked up. In their calculation, they set number of coins to be issued in the future or currently locked up by large institutions. And it's all playing out. Okay, and the math that I'm going to put today is going to be 90 billion XRP in circulation. So majority of XRP is already going to be there. So the prices you're going to see technically are going to be a lot higher because in the current market, there isn't 90 billion XRP in circulation. Okay, we have to talk about the 30% of XRP that's going to be locked up in ETFs, institution reserves, right? Long-term holdings. And that's going to leave XRP approximately, 63 billion unlocked? But only a part of that is truly liquid in exchanges and corridors, okay? So keep in mind, they told you it's going to be locked up. And they also told you, this is just insane. When I read this, I literally said, okay, so here's the thing. XRP was designed for the use case of facilitating cross-border payments, a market of enormous magnitude. Okay, I repeat. A market of enormous magnitude. And Mr. Gupta made that very clear.
Ripple is not an ordinary company. We are not here to have a small market share or do X, do Y, and make small amount of money or something to happen. We are here to make a dent in the universe. Either we will change the remittance universe, the way you understand, the way value gets transferred across the world between people, between institutions, or we will just fade away. So it's almost 0 or 1. Every day we get tens of ideas to say, why don't you do security settlement? Why don't you work in trade finance? Why don't you do X, Y, Z? And what we tell them is just cross-border remittances is $155 trillion problem. We'll solve this first. We'll make a difference to everybody who's present in this room. And once we have made the difference, then only we will look at something else.
And then, don't forget, they also said, we will define the XRP success case as a state of the world in XRP is adopted as a part of a widely used cross-border payment standard, and in which XRP is adopted for use by financial institutions, corporations, and individuals to affect the FX transactions. And that's all playing out. And then even when you compare to what they said, right, the low end, $6.37. XRP is currently at $3.05. And we all know it's going to be well above that, $6.37 on their low end conservative, like the failure, $6.37. Guess what? We're about to hit that this year. So you could also see that $32.91 is a complete lie because they didn't include anything. Okay, they did not include anything. Do not forget about velocity. They said that. Most valuation work to date utilizes the number of currently outstanding units as supply, consistent with the emphasis from most prior work on velocity relationships. This paper, by contrast, incorporates future units issuance, consistent with standard finance theory for valuing assets in a dynamic environment. So now when we do velocity, you got to realize that XRP isn't consumed when it moves money, right? It is reused. So if each XRP clears 2 payments a day, that's twice of a solid velocity. When we talked about it in the previous video, right? 3, 5, so on. But realistically, in order to have this $4 trillion a day volume, you're going to need minimum XRP at $63. And the range that it could potentially be is $63 to $317 per XRP. And if any of you guys think that's crazy, I'm happy for you. I really am. And that's sarcasm. This is why a $3 XRP is not going to cut it. Like right now, XRP is handling $3 billion of speculation. And even when we go back to 2018, take a look at this. 2018, absolutely nothing. No regulation, no nothing. No, they had a game plan, but there was absolutely nothing here. It was doing $2.3 billion in 24-hour volume, and the XRP price was at $3.37. And we are around the same price right now. Okay, we're at what, 33 cents off. And we're at almost 5 billion, 4.6 to be exact, billion in volume. But real world settlement, you got to understand, is enormous. And the system can't move trillions at a $3 XRP. The math is going to force it for a repricing. Remember, we only modeled for a $4 trillion a day. The FX market, you guys know, $10 trillion a day. And then once we add the best part, okay, we could just add it here. Once we add the tokenized treasury, stable coins like RLUSD, USDC, that are going to require something like an XRP to scale and enter more corridors. Don't forget real world assets. The pressure is going to multiply. Every corridor, every ETF, every reserve wallet makes the float smaller, while the demand is going to keep growing for XRP.
Aside, there's relatively speaking fixed supply, and you have increasing demand. And when endowments and institutions, Joey and I sat in a meeting not that long ago with, some of the largest institutional money in the world trying to get smart about crypto. They owned 0 on that day. I don't know if they do today. But as they enter the market, you have fixed supply, increasing demand. You don't have to go to MIT to know what's going to happen.
That's the design. Ripple built XRP for speed and efficiency, but the real game was always about liquidity and market depth, and doing this at scale. And if you have been watching my channel for a very long time, you understand liquidity and market depth, how important that is. So here's the bottom line. At a $3 XRP, it is still a speculation token. At $63 to $317, XRP is going to be slowly becoming the global liquidity layer that is capable of handling multi-trillion-dollar daily flows. And the math doesn't lie. Supply is locked. They told you this. A Stanford University professor, still to date. Okay, this is not for fun. And once all this goes into place, XRP is going to be forced to reprice. The market will figure that out, whether people understand the math or not at the current state. And the best part, I'm going to end it off with this. The fact that they gave the high chances for Bitcoin by 2030 to be $93,000, facepalm moment. I am literally rubbing my eyes right now as I'm doing this. That's a facepalm moment. You know, they told you, and they're talking about this whole $32 XRP by 2030. This is their vision. Okay, so XRP. Okay, but the best part about Bitcoin's already at $115,000, right? So you know, we all know this. Like, you do understand. I'm going to say this one more time for the individuals that may not understand. Two individuals working at Ripple at the time are not going to come out and say that their token is going to go to $100. Okay, 100%. Anybody that works corporate jobs, anybody does anything at a level like that, you know it's going to go through PR, you know it's going to go through multiple checks, you know that's not going to get approved. Okay, because a company like Ripple cannot come out at that size, cannot come out saying that this digital asset is going to go to $100. Nothing crazy like that. And that's why they give you that 2030 vision. Okay? So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, I do appreciate every single one of you guys. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. But the 2-bit, register if you guys want to do this trading with me. Everybody's account is going to get funded $10,000 of the trial fund on September 24th. This time period is for registration. And the best part about all this is you get to keep 20% of any profit you make with the $10,000 they give you. So this is absolutely insane. And generational bottoms, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, that XRP trade that I opened yesterday is up only not even 1%. I'm probably going to be adding more to my position. Okay, I'm going to see how far it goes down. I don't think we're going to have to see a bounce now. Like within the next 24 hours, we are going to know if we're going up or down. Okay, that's a fact. And right now, when you take a look at the 4-hour chart for XRP, it is looking for this is the move we're about to see. And if we could come up here to $3.05 in the coming hours, hopefully by the time this video is up, and I'm recording this at 3:35 Pacific time. So if this goes up, so that is 4:35 Eastern. If this could come up, just 305, go back to 310, it's going to be a bullish week. Okay, it is going to be a bullish week, and let's all pray for that. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, I do appreciate every single one of you guys. Take advantage of the deposit bonuses for Bitunix and 2bit. The link is in the description down below. If you deposit $2,000 on Bitunix, you do get a $400 futures bonus that you could be trading with and not risk any of your capital up front. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, $3 is a laughing joke. And like I said, $100 XRP by 2030 is my target. Okay, that is my target. It has been for a very long time. And anything over, let it be. But in today's episode, you saw the lowest it could ever be, realistically speaking, at any sort of scale, would be around $63. Okay? Like, it logically, I know it sounds crazy, sitting here when the asset is at $3.05. But you also got to understand that we were crazy when the asset was sitting at 20 cents, 30 cents, 40 cents, 50 cents for the past 7 years doing the same thing, making videos. Okay, but we have educated ourselves and we understand the asset we hold, so there's nothing yet for us to do in terms of accumulate as much as we can and keep learning about this technology, because we are all learning at the same pace as the World Economic Forum, the World Bank, the BIS, the Group of 30. We're all learning at the same pace. Okay, we are all learning at the same pace. If you're just getting in now, you got a lot of catching up to do, but everybody that has been following us on this journey, we have educated ourselves on the future financial system. Once in a lifetime opportunity where you could have grabbed assets that the same banks that are funding the $1 trillion Ponzi scheme right now are going to be forced to buy and implement into their technology. So with that being said, I love you guys. I'll see you guys tomorrow.
Familiar with the Rogers innovation adoption curve. I'll quickly kind of run through it if folks aren't. But it's the technology adoption curve popularized by Everett Rogers in his book, Diffusions of Innovations. It's the foundational building block of how early and mid-stage investors literally think about the universe, right? It illustrates how different segments of the population adopt technology at different times. It's the core empirical principle used on how technology is adopted. It's VC investing 101. Quickly run through it. According to the principle, there's 5 categories: innovators, early adopters, early majority, late majority, and laggards. Innovators and early adopters are the first to adopt technology, usually due to curiosity and risk tolerance, probably a lot of folks in the room and at this conference. Early and late majority represent the larger audience that wait until the technology is proven and more mature. And laggards are the last to adopt, usually resistant to change. Relevant here, maybe that's the governments, regulators, and perhaps the banks. And so I thought it was helpful to help contextualize where we are. And so the question is, where are we on this? We're in the green area. And so clearly we have a long way to go before there's full adoption. But what it also tells you is that we're out of the early stages. And so that means that folks are starting to give up this notion that this is some sort of gimmick. It is real. And if it is real, then again, we have a long way to go before this becomes more mainstream. What it also tells you is that the mature users, not the early adopters, they wait until the risk of adopting is significantly reduced. So they will expect mature, known, transparent market infrastructure before they come online. And the good news is that's exactly what's happening and what a lot of folks are building towards. When I think about the transformation and evolution of other markets like electronic trading, foreign exchange, prime brokerage, and interest rate swaps, as mentioned earlier, you can literally point to the curve where those businesses were at different times and observe certain characteristics and see if they match that graph or not.
But I think the idea of buying and holding forever and not trying to make adjustments requires that you've gotten it right in the first place. That you can only hold tight if you've bought right, if you will. And that is to say, have an asset allocation that has something to do with how many years you have to accumulate money, how much resources you have at stake, how much income you need, and how much courage you have to ride out the peregrinations of the market.
They told us dream small, but we had the stars in mind. While they chased hype, we studied time. In the noise we found the signal. Brad knew just what to do. Now XRP hums like jazz, running smooth and true. Money's changing, systems bend, ripple flow into the end. Truth is quiet, bold and deep. We salute the ones who lose no sleep. Salute to the minds that built this chain. Salute, salute through the trials, through the pain. Salute, salute to the calm, to the wise. Salute 100 in our eyes. Bitcoin maxis yell on stage, stuck in loops they call belief, while XRPL just clears the way. No delay, no grief. They hoard coins like dusty gold, but we got utility in every fold. The future ain't loud, it's steady breathing. Real ones know what's worth believing. It ain't hype, it's code and soul. We salute the ones who see the whole. Salute to the builders, to the flow. So here's to the signal, clear and bright. To the dreamers who held on tight. No matter the storm, no matter the fight. Salute, we rise with the light.
We started building RippleNet with the thesis that crypto liquidity would eventually be able to support robust global payments, large payments. RippleNet was designed so that customers seeing the benefits of our fiat-based network could flip the switch to ODL once the market was mature enough. And this is exactly what's happening. Flip the switch. I think what we're building has, it's solving a real problem. And I think all of the tokens, my advice to anybody would be, understand the utility. If there's real utility and there's real value being delivered to a real customer, there will be value in the token.